Alrighty, welcome. Me first crack at some YouTube videos. This has been interesting. So it's going to run you through basically step by step how we do things in the detailing side of it. For those that don't know, my name is Stephen. I started 310 Autosport 3.5 years ago, and we were purely just detailing. And Jade and I have been best friends for too long. And we decided to merge together. So when we merged, he was doing some detailing with me, but we did merge purely for the idea to one day have a bit of a one-stop shop, which is who we are now in Northlakes. So basically, to make it clear, there are a couple of types of detailers out there. You do have kind of more just casual basic car wash detailers where it's in and out really fast. Then you start stepping up to some paint correcting and coating stuff, and then PPF and things like that. But depending on what brand you use, how you do the work, all the 1%ers, the no cutting corners, there are levels up there. And we try to pride ourselves to be right at the top always. So early on when we were starting, we were always trying to fight for who could do it cheaper, you know, because we needed some money at the start. And so we're like, yeah, we can do it for this much. Funny enough, whenever we won the job to do it for pennies, you know, a customer will just pick at something in the corner and go, oh, well, what's that, you know? It never worked. So we thought, you know what, we're not doing that anymore. Every single coating job that comes through the door, we put 150% in, and that's it, and just charge a fair price for it. Since then, not one complaint. Funny that. So, pardon me. The red Tritons, I'm sure we've all seen them. I've been wanting to do one for years, and one of my best mates from my previous career as a professional golfer, he gave me a call. He goes, mate, got a Triton? Yeah, what color? Red? Oh, what year? Bang, couldn't believe it. So it's in. So basically when we're correcting, there's a process to it. We wash it first, you do the paint correcting, then you put the coating on. But when you're doing the wash, the 1%ers that I'm talking about literally make all the difference in the world. So this was faded as fuck, as you've all seen. These things go pink. Every single red Triton out there, oxidized to the shit house. So oxidized, fancy word for paint fade for people that don't know. So basically when we bring it in, we got to wash it and then we've got to decontaminate it. The contamination is what caused all that oxidization in the first place. So basically, when you feel over the top of paint, it should feel dead smooth. It won't. It'll feel like sandpaper. That's just all the contaminants that have landed on the paint, and then that'll inflict all the damage. So when we wash it, we get all the dirt off, and then we remove all the contamination with an iron decontamination spray, some tar remover, and then the clay bar. So the process, before we even put a polisher on the car, we're a few hours in. That's where most detailers go, oh, fuck that. We'll just wash it, chuck the pad on it, off we go. That's where the longevity process will really start to diminish. You'll pay for a top tier coating and notice in 12 months, you go, that's starting to look a bit fucked. That's where these 1%ers start to show, right? So it's so important you spend as much time as you need to doing the decontaminating. That way, even though when the paint still has the faded look, after we do the decontamination, if you were to feel it with your hand, it's dead smooth. So that way, we're not embedding more contaminants into the clear coat, nor are we just kind of skipping over some instead of just kind of actually removing it all and then correcting it. So once that's done inside, to get through all this oxidization, you got to hit it nice and hard. What we do first is we measure the paint with a paint thickness reader that tells us exactly how much room we've got to play with. It's very unprofessional to take it way too far. You want to make sure you're doing it fair and you just go as far enough as you need to. That way, in future, if something needs to happen again and the car gets passed on, you didn't cause shit for anyone else in the future. You want to make sure that you know exactly your numbers, what you're working with, and take it just beyond that. There's no need to go excessive unless the customer requests sanding to get a showroom finish of some sort like that. So anyway, hitting it nice and hard with a wool pad. We find they just work the best with cutting. You just hit it nice and hard. It gives a pretty good finish already. But we combine that with a compound that GYEON certifies us with. It's called Compound Plus. Super heavy, super gritty. Combining with the pad, it gets all that oxidization out, as you can see in some videos that Nathan's going to put up. But from there, if you were to look at that, you'd say that's perfect. That looks amazing, but it doesn't. From that heavy cutting stage, it's like sanding. You've got to refine it and refine it and refine it. You can't be cheeky and then chuck the 1%er out the door and skip and jump a process. Once we heavy cut it with the wool pad, we refine it to a heavy cut foam pad, and then a medium cut and a polish. So there's always 3 to 4 stages doing these pro packages, whatever's need to do to get the imperfections out. If we've got to go beyond that, whatever, but 3 to 4 stages minimum. So it's an awesome process to watch, but nice and heavy cut, refining it into a medium cut, and then a polish. And if you were to look at the polished finish next to the heavy cutting finish, you'd go, oh yeah, fuck, I can see what you mean now. It looks a bit faded and dull compared to when it's polished. When it's polished, it looks fantastic, really does. The phones never pick it up. You really got to be here to see that sort of mirror finish and the depth of the paint. It's fantastic. So After we do that, what most detailers do, it's corrected, yep, cool. They'll wipe the car down, put the coating over the top. Bad. When we're buffing, yes, we're pulling out all the imperfections, but what people don't know, all the compounds are oil-based. You're actually embedding the oils into the clear coat. After a paint correction process, if you were just to get a cloth and wipe it, it'll feel quite smooth and slippery. That's bad. You do not want that. That means all the oils and the waxes are embedded into the clear. So we've got to pull them out. So out we come, pulling the car all the way out, spray the car down to get rid of any compound dust and any dry compound in the cracks. But then whilst it's sprayed, we actually put some tabs in a snow foam cannon, they dissolve, and then we spray it over the car. It looks like snow foam, but it's not. Once that lands on the car, that sits there for up to about 5 to 10 minutes tops. And you'll notice it'll go a bit waxy. It doesn't drip off like soap. That waxy sort of look is it reacting and pulling out all the greases out to the top of the surface. Then when we spray it off, all those greases are on the floor. A red one just drove past, don't know if you've seen that. Another one, how this used to look. So once that's all done, finally we can bring it inside, dry it, and then go over the whole car with some isopropanol alcohol. It removes all the greases and the waxes potentially left in it, and then some. You then feel the paint with your cloth. You can touch it with your hand just to kind of get a gauge. It is super sticky. That is perfect. You want it as sticky as possible. That way, when we're putting on our GYEON Infinite ceramic coating, that marries perfectly and you are going to get the longevity that we promise, which is a lifetime warranty. However long you keep the car, we will replace it if anything goes wrong. But ideally, you'll easily get 15 years out of this coating if it's maintained correctly and it's garaged and you look after it. What people do kind of forget is you can go to any detailing studio, pay for their top package and think, job's done. Don't have to do anything. I've got the coating, it's protected, don't have to do anything. It's not like that. Even though you pay for top tier quality ceramic coatings, it is like, perfect example, like going to the gym. Let's say you spend as much money on the best food, the best personal trainer, you smash the gym for 12 months and your physique changes and it looks amazing. You cannot just stop training and stop worrying about your nutrition and expect to have the physique that you just work for. It's the same thing. You've got to maintain it. You've got to have a good diet. You've got to make sure you're regularly training. Not as hard to get the gains, but you've got to make sure you maintain the car perfectly with washes. Same as most things with your work, anything else out there. But I felt like saying the gym reference kind of makes a perfect example. You really got to maintain that hard work you just put in, which is another thing we do with the coating. When you put the coating over the top, the benefits of it, it's endless. The list is too long, but to make it short and simple, it's basically adding on a slippery clear coat. That's literally all it's doing. But it's also sealing in the hard work that we've done so it doesn't relapse, but also that slickness to the surface looks unbelievable. Looks like there's a thin layer of glass over it, but UV damage, scratch resistant, you name it. It's honestly on another level. That's how bird poo lands on it. Normally the sun will bake it. It'll be dry and flaky. It'll just spray off with some water. Like, it's fantastic. All the other things that you can do with the coating too, like depending on where you go, all the car show stuff, yes, you can use it to your advantage for it to look good, but even if you're going to the track, that's a good one for us. Going out to the track, spraying burnt rubber up the rear bar, if you try to get that off a car that's uncoated, forget it. You know, it's your barrier at the end of the day, so it can live outside, things can land on it, birds can shit on it, but you can't leave it forever. It's a barrier, so it's a shield. If you leave it too long, like a bat shit, you've probably only got about a month before bat shit can seep through it. It's just toxic, that stuff. So even that, you just want to make sure you wipe off, constantly making sure it's maintained correctly, and then away you go. So that's a basic sum up of how we do our coatings and what you got to do to maintain it. Once every 2 to 4 weeks, I'd recommend to give it a wash, but then overall, you get this finish. So it was actually amazing to do one of these. I told you, like, I've been waiting years to do one, but that's the process that we do. These 1%ers really add up. Cutting corners do not work. When you do go and pay for a protection package, just ask some questions, you know, ask what the process is, just know where your money's going, because at the end of the day, it is really hard. Like, some people will not be able to tell when detailers do cut corners, apart from, let's say you buy a 5-year coating, and in a year you'll notice that something's just not right. That's when you know that they just didn't do any of the degreasing after the correcting or the decontaminating properly, or spent the time to cut deep enough so you do get through all the oxidization and then refine it. So a lot of these things to look out for, but if you guys are located, well, not even really located on the north side of Brisbane, please hit up us 310 Autosport. If you are Australia-wide, the best thing I can recommend doing to make sure that you're getting an honest detailer and the world's best products, GYEON products, go onto the GYEON website, and there'll be a tab there that'll say find a nearest detailer, put your postcode in, and it'll come up with the nearest certified GYEON detailer to you. So there's a standard they have. There's only 80 of us in the country, 1,600 worldwide with the training that we have, and then obviously specifically the coatings. They're on another level. You know, it's hard to explain until you see them in action, but I suppose at the end of the day, it's a great example. I bet you wouldn't think one of these oxidized Tritons could look like this and bead like that. So there you go, basic sum up of how we do our coatings. If you're interested in any of these protection packages, please hit us up by any of the details below. Thank you so much.